Hey, what's up, everyone? And welcome to this latest edition of the Pinstriped Prospects Podcast, brought to you by Velocity 5 Sports Restaurant and Bar in Sterling, Virginia. I'm your host, Rob Terranova, and we've got another jam-packed episode for you this week. This is episode number 40 of the podcast, and we'll be talking about the Yankees minor league coaching staffs taking shape. The Yankees also hired a familiar name to their big league staff. As always, we'll discuss some hot stove rumors, and you won't want to miss our exclusive interview with Yankees budding prospect Kanan Smith. Before we get to all that, let me introduce our panel for this week. We've got a good one. A couple of the usual suspects first. Joining us from Scranton, Pennsylvania, our Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders beat reporter Tommy Romanelli. Hey Tommy, how's it going over there?
Great. I was doing wonderful over the weekend until it snowed today, but otherwise, just living the dream.
Well, brace yourself. I think it should snow again on Friday. I think I saw that somewhere.
I don't want to hear that at all.
And joining us from Charleston, South Carolina, our Charleston River Dogs beat writer, the best on the beat, might I add, Joseph Dixon. What's going on, Joe?
Oh, not a whole lot. I'm not expecting any snow, so that's a good thing. And other than that, it's been pretty quiet down here.
You still chilling in the high 70s down there?
Well, today it was only 50, so.
Okay. I know a lot of us in the Northeast would take 50 at this point.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that, but that's part of the reason why you moved down here.
That's great. And we've got a new face, but not really a new face to this podcast, from down in Tampa, Florida, a man who knows the Yankee system inside and out. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Paul Pagnato III. Paul, it's great to have you with us this week.
Oh, it's great to be back.
Yeah, I can't wait to get your insight on some of this stuff. You've been putting out some great content on the website, a lot of good stories, a lot of good feedback from fans, and we're looking forward to digging into that and learning more about it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me on. Really appreciate it, and look forward to get going.
All right, guys. Well, we have so much to get to in this episode, so let's just dive right in. Let's start with that coaching staff news, going down to Trenton, New Jersey, where the Thunder have announced their coaching staff. Jay Bell, manager, we knew that already, but a few other names coming out. Tim Norton was named the pitching coach. He replaces Jose Rosado. Ty Hawkins, the hitting coach. He replaces Tommy Slater, who's now the assistant hitting coach with the New York Mets. Luis Durante. Paul, I know that's a name we know well. He was with Pulaski last year. Now he's the bullpen coach. And returning some names that the Trenton fans will remember. Raul Dominguez. He's going to be the defense coach. Jimmy Downham will be the athletic trainer. And Anthony Velasquez will be strength and conditioning. So, guys, any surprises here? Any names that jumped out at you? Anything caught you by surprise? Anything that really just caught your attention? I feel like I said that 3 times. But Tommy, let's start with you.
I mean, maybe more so just the returning coaches, but I think overall, we've been talking about this for a few weeks. I can't say that there's too many surprises there. There's it's just a natural progression in the system, and I think that Trenton is well equipped with their new coaches, and excited to see how they can mold that team this year.
Joe?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, like with Ty Hawkins, he's a really good hitting coach for those guys. He came in about halfway through the season in Charleston last year. The team kind of struggled putting together some offense before then, but he came through, brought a different approach than Ken Joyce, the previous hitting coach, and I think that's a really good pickup for them. Luis Durante is another interesting addition to the staff because he's a bullpen coach, which we knew him as a manager with Pulaski and Charleston before that for a few years. So it'll be interesting to see how he pans out in that role, which I think is a brand new role, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it is as well. Paul, I know you've been itching to get on here, so take it away.
Yes. So I not really too many surprises here. The only surprise I would say is Luis Durante. I really thought he's going to get a managerial position somewhere. Staten Island most likely is where I kind of had him pegged. But great staff. From top to bottom, Jay Bell did a phenomenal job last year in Tampa. You have Tim Norton, and I actually had him in Charleston. He works really, really well, and really good to see him progress and get a chance now to work with the upper level guys. Then you have Ty Hawkins. I would say he's one of the best, if not the best, hitting mind in the Yankees organization. Durante, obviously, we've had experience with him and really good with the pitchers. And I think that's why you see this move go into an upper level to Trenton to work with more experienced prospects. So that's really good for him. Happy for him. Raul Dominguez, I had him when I was in the Dominican Republic. Raul is just one of the nicest guys, and it's good for him to experience an upper level as well. He's worked with the lower level guys. So you're just really seeing, these coaches just move up with the players. And then Jimmy and Anthony Velasquez both returned. That is their, I think, this would make their fourth consecutive year together being the strength coach and athletic trainer. So that's good to see them still paired together. Two of my favorites, but I think the staff's going to do really, really well, and they have the right pieces in place to have a great season.
Well, what about some of these guys that left? Particularly, let's look at the pitching coach. Jose Rosado had a lot of success with that pitching staff, really worked with the pitchers well. I know talking to Domingo Acevedo, he attributed a lot of his success and a lot of his growth to the work he did with Jose Rosado. Are you guys surprised to see him go? Paul, I'll start with you. We'll go backwards.
So, to be completely frank and to be completely honest, I think he's a very good pitching coach. He's exceptionally well with the Latin players. So what you may see is more American pitchers in Trenton, and that's why they wanted to get the guys coming from Charleston and repeating in Tampa to work with Rosie, because that's more of his expertise. He works really well, very patient, and teaches the game very, very well. So I actually think, not because of incompetency or not being able to coach at a certain level, I just think he's at a very high level able to coach, and that's what the younger kids need. So I like the move.
Yeah, and to Paul's point there, I feel like when it comes to minor league staffs, especially less the manager and more the supporting staff around him, it's going to be a lot about what type of players they expect to be at that level. So he brought mention to it about there might be a lot more American pitchers on the roster this year, but I think that's really important to get the right guys in the right part of the system to be able to mentor the guys that they have the strengths with. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And also to another thing that was mentioned before with Durante, and kind of surprised that he didn't get a manager position. Since he was with Pulaski, you would have to wonder, would it be more beneficial for him in his career path, or to be able to show what he can do at a higher level of the minors, maybe take a lower position at Trenton as opposed to maybe a managerial position at Tampa or one of the other lower levels. So it might have been, in his mind, a bigger benefit to be able to go to the AA team and get that higher experience, and then maybe possibly shift into that role once they shuffle the staffs again.
Anything to add to that, Joe?
No, I mean, Tommy and Paul make great points. With the Yankee system, it seems like they're more about putting the right people in the right positions, whether it be players or coaches. So none of this is too surprising to me as far as where guys ended up. But the thing that did surprise me is that they kind of opened up a bullpen coach position, which was something new. And also, I mean, Luis has been in the organization for a little while now. He's managed before, so I was a little surprised that he's taking the position as a bullpen coach. Rather than even if you went up in the higher levels, say take a like a pitching coach position or something a little bit higher than bullpen coach. But again, it's all about putting the right guys in the right spots. So none of it's too surprising. It's just the opening of the position that surprised me more than anything else.
And we wish, of course, Rosado the best of luck down in Tampa. I think that the move there definitely makes sense with his work with the Latin players and the Latin players that are there in Tampa. So we wish him the best of luck in Tampa. And speaking of Tampa, I wanted to say the Tampa Yankees, but they're not the Tampa Yankees. The Tampa Tarpons named their manager Pat Osborne. And I know that we were playing Guess That Manager for Tampa, and a few guys, I think it was Tommy and Joe, I think you guys had this. You guys nailed this in your predictions. Pat Osborne named the manager, and our very own Antonio Mendez had the news first. A little background on Osborne for those of you who don't know. He was the manager of this team in 2016, and they went 79-56 and went to their first Florida State League Championship Series since 2010, ended a drought there. And this will be Osborne's 5th season with the Yankees organization, a man who's very familiar with the ins and outs of the Yankee way. So, kind of a logical move, a good signing here for Tampa. Guys, what was your reaction to this, if anything? Like I said, I feel like you had it kind of dubbed the whole time.
Yeah, so speaking from experience with Pat Osborne, because he was with Charleston in 2017, he's a very good players manager. The players all feel they can approach him. He may be a players manager, but that doesn't mean he's stern, or he's not stern, I should say. He's very focused as a manager, and the players love him and rally around him. So I think it was a great move that he's going back up to Tampa, and he's really good with working with the younger kids. So also he'll get a lot of the same guys that he had in Charleston last year, so that kind of keeps the continuity in that respect as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think this was a surprise to anybody. Osborne has done a really great job in the Yankees system, and I think you mentioned it. He's been with the team for 5 years now, just like Jay Bell and what we expected, Pedrique to move up and Bobby Mitchell. Osborne is going to get a shot, and hope him all the best, and I think he's going to do a really good job with them.
I couldn't agree more. I was fortunate to have Oz in the GCL. I believe it was Oz's first year, and in each and every year that Oz has been a member of and in charge of leading the team that he has been given, I believe he's made the championship game. Joe, you might be able to help me out with that. And in fact, check. I believe actually we were talking about this when I was in Charleston, but Oz is just one of the nicest guys that I've really ever met, and he knows the game inside and out. And I think this is a potential big league manager someday, just because of his demeanor. He is cool, calm, collective, level-headed. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. That's exactly what you need. And I really wish him the best, and hopefully he'll advance to a 5th consecutive championship.
Yeah, just to clarify, Paul, he didn't get to the championship last year, but he did get the River Dogs to the playoffs.
Okay, sorry about that. I knew I was could be wrong on that. So, but I want to say, though, he has been at least to the playoffs, and every year he's been manager. And I know he went to the championship game in 2016 because he went in 2012, and he went last year, and then he went with, who's the other team that he managed? And he went with Staten Island as well. So yes, that is correct. He has gone to the playoffs every year. He's been to the championship all but one.
And I believe he also made a playoff appearance with the independent league team that he managed.
Yes, the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs was that team.
That's a great name for a team.
So, I mean, Pat just comes with a tremendous amount of track record and success, and really, really happy for him for another good opportunity here for him to continue to help coach these baby Bombers.
He's definitely the right guy to lead the way there and to kind of skipper that ship. So we wish him the best of luck. Just to round out the rest of that Tampa staff, because they did name their entire coaching staff. Already mentioned Pat Osborne, manager, Jose Rosado, pitching coach. Also a name that anyone familiar with the Yankees farm system for the last 2 decades, I guess, will be familiar with this name, Eric Duncan. I know he was a highly touted prospect about 15 years ago. So Eric Duncan, hitting coach for Tampa. Jose Javier will be the defensive coach. Michael Hernandez will be the catching coach. Michael Becker will be the athletic trainer. And Jacob Dunning will be strength and conditioning. So another great staff assembled down there in Tampa, and it will be another great season. This farm system had the best success of any team's farm system as far as every level last season, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't repeat again this season. And speaking of the success of the farm system and the high talent level of all the Yankees prospects, MLB Pipeline released their list of top shortstop prospects, and I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. Number 1 on that list was Gleyber Torres. Gleyber, of course, getting a lot of talk that he's going to be the future at second base for the Yankees, with Didi already at the shortstop position, but he didn't make the top list at the shortstop position. And another name on that list, someone who was part of the system last year and said goodbye in the Sonny Gray deal, Jorge Mateo. He ranked number 9. I always thought they were closer in talent than that, but MLB Pipeline sees it differently. So guys, Gleyber, multiple spots on multiple lists so far. We're talking about him as a second baseman. There's talk about him as a third baseman. Obviously number 1 at shortstop here on this list. Where do you think he actually ranks among MLB prospects? Tommy, let's start with you.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of talent out there, and I think that Gleyber is right at the top. Maybe not number 1 at this point. I think it's easy to forget that he's 20. He may have just turned 21 years old. He's 2021, but for his age and to even be in the top 5, I think that that's phenomenal and just speaks to his talent. But I think somebody like Ronald Acuna definitely deserves to be up there. You're going to see Shohei Ohtani a lot, depending on how you classify Japanese free agents. So I think that Gleyber ends up somewhere in that 3-4 range. I know they've had him around the 6 range in some of the lists that we've seen recently. But I think that the overall talent is there defensively, on the base paths, and offensively, of course. So honestly, I do see him as a top 5 prospect. And to touch on what you said, I actually was surprised that Jorge Mateo was low on that list as well. One thing that I've noticed is that it seems like a lot of these prospects the Yankees have traded away, when they were here, we loved them. They seem to be really on the rise, but I've noticed this year that a lot of them have dropped on the lists. So I don't know if they feel like being in the Yankees organization gave them a boost just because of the coaching that they get around them. Although, the Athletics are a very good organization as well in terms of developing prospects. So I don't know. It's interesting to see how some of those prospects really fell. So I'm not sure why that would be.
So for me, I would put Gleyber at 3. I would have Ronald Acuna number 1, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. number 2, and then Gleyber number 3. After following him, I would probably have Shohei Ohtani, and then Victor Robles, followed by Eloy Jimenez. I love Gleyber. He's gonna be a multiple-time All-Star, and I wish I could put him 1 of 1. I just can't do it. That's where I have him.
So just to clarify there, Paul, you're talking overall prospect, not this shortstop prospect list.
Correct. Overall overall prospect rankings. As far as shortstop, I'd 100% have him 1-1, and there's no question about that. Gleyber currently plays shortstop, so you gotta grade him as a shortstop, and I don't see a better shortstop prospect in the game right now.
Okay, Joe, you had a chance to take a look at Torres. Where do you put him?
Well, he's definitely, to me, the top shortstop prospect. If you look at the guys rated below him, like Fernando Tatis Jr., who's 2 on that list, Bo Bichette, who's 3, and then Brendan Rodgers, who's 4th on that list. A lot of the knock on those guys are their defensive game, where Gleyber hasn't beat easily as far as his hands and his arm goes. The other guys, they're slated. A lot of scouts will slate them to be second basemen. In fact, Brendan Rodgers Fernando Tatis Jr. is slated more to be a third baseman in a lot of scouts' eyes. So, even though these guys have great numbers, like Fernando Tatis did, hit 21 bombs last year. Brendan Rodgers hit 387 last year at Lancaster in Class A. Even though these guys have great offensive numbers, Gleyber is the more complete player with his defense and also his offense as well. I mean, he's got a very good bat. He's really progressed in the year that he's been in the system. So to me, it's really a runaway as far as Gleyber goes. He's the best top prospect. And just kind of piggyback off of Tommy's point about Jorge Mateo, which is another guy we've seen. I think more with Mateo, a lot of it I think comes down to attitude more than talent. And also, as far as talent, as you were mentioning, I think he does have as much raw talent as Gleyber, but he just hasn't developed as much so far. That's not to say he won't, but I think that's the reason why he was a bit lower on that list.
And while we're talking about Torres, a story came out this week in the New York Post by Joel Sherman saying that even if Torres wins the second base job, and yes, if anyone's not following this, it could get a little confusing. He was ranked the top shortstop on that MLB pipeline list, but the Yankees are hopeful that he will be the second baseman this year and for the future. So in Sherman's article, he talks about how even if he wins this job, the second base job out of spring training, he may not start with the big league club. The team may consider keeping him in Scranton Wilkes-Barre for 16 days to gain another year of control. So instead of 6 years of control, 7 years of control. This, of course, was big news 3 years ago with the Cubs and Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant entered the season as the #1 prospect. They kept him in the minors for those 16 days to get another year of control. So kind of office politics, if you will. But is that a smart move? Would you go along with that thinking? Do you think that would behoove the Yankees? Obviously, another year of control for this guy, but you also want to field the best team at all times. So I want to toss it back to you guys. What do you think? Joe, we'll start with you this time.
To me, I would actually sit him for the first 16 games. As far as Torres goes, he's a once in a lifetime prospect. So if you can control him for that extra year, I think you do it. And we've seen it many times, with Chris Bryant, as you mentioned, Bryce Harper that happened with. Many guys have gone through this. So I think it's a wise move to actually hold him back, especially because you do have guys, like Ronald Torres, for example, and some other guys who may be able to fill in for a couple weeks there while we wait for Gleyber, because like with the Yankees, they're building so much depth, minor league veteran depth as well, that 16 games isn't going to kill the Yankees in a 162 game stretch.
I wholeheartedly disagree. And a matter of fact, I get kind of infuriated when there's even consideration by the Yankees doing this. You're the New York Yankees. You're here to win championships, and bottom line is financial. financial resources aren't aren't scarce. They're in abundance. And I feel like that's one of those things that you have to budget for. I believe you owe it to your fan base because your market demands the best product on the field. And if you're holding Gleyber Torres back, you're not giving them the best product. And that's why you pay $3,500 a seat behind home plate at Yankee Stadium. It's to go watch the best players. And I think the Yankees will do the right thing here and play the best players, and if he earns it, he earns it. But I get the argument, but that's a small market thing for me. And I think the Cubs did their fans an injustice with Chris Bryant. The Nationals, I could understand with Bryce Harper coming from where they are in their financial standpoint with the Masson dispute, and they really weren't good at all, and having them up there isn't going to impact anything. But as far as you're the Yankees, you're the LA Dodgers, you don't do that. I just don't see there's any excuse to do that, and I think you owe it to your fan base to be competitive and have the best players out there. And if it's Gleyber Torres and you lose a year of control, budget so you can re-sign him.
Taking the stance of the fans. All right, Tommy, jump in here.
Well, I'm kind of in the middle, to be honest with you, because from a business aspect, I do see the value in it. It gives them leverage when that time comes to sign a contract. Maybe 3 years down the road, he's killing it, and they want to sign him to a long-term deal. And instead of him only having 3 more seasons or 2 more seasons left, now he has 3. So it'll allow them to sign him to a little bit better of a contract. So I get it from the business standpoint. However, Paul does make a point. They are the Yankees. They don't need to go out and worry about 1 extra year just because they have the money. They're going to have to sign him to a large contract eventually if he becomes what we all expect him to become. But it's kind of like how Joel Sherman lays it out. If he kills it in spring training, they do have that out. Like at the end of spring training, if they're like, well, we do feel like he needs more seasoning, whether it's defensively or maybe he needs more time to work on second base because he didn't spend much time there. And at the end of this spring training, if he's got a 300 average, a couple home runs, and they say that, I don't think there's going to be too much of an argument because he did miss half the season. He really did spend that much time in AAA. So I don't know. I don't think you have to do it. The only thing that I would say is that it's 16 days, not 16 games. So there's going to be a few off days in there. You're not going to miss them for much more. So if they end up doing that, it's hard to argue with. But I mean, obviously, for the fans, you're going to want to see him there day one because there is something special about seeing, his name as opposed to Ronald Torres' coming on that first base line waiting to have their name announced on opening day. So, yeah, there's pros, there's cons. I think if you're the Yankees, though, if he's ready, then you play him on opening day. And, well, actually, sorry, not to mention, there's no guarantee that he's going to stick in this up in the season for the entire year. So, start him opening day, and if they need to send him down, then they could, and then there's your time. So, it's definitely something to look at. But if I were them, and he's ready, I would keep him on the roster.
Yeah, I would say I fall somewhere in the middle on this debate. In the short term, thinking about the fans, thinking about the Yankees and the Yankee product, you always want to put your best foot forward. So I could see if he wins the job outright, you start him opening day. However, big picture, yes, it is the Yankees, but to have another year of control of a talent like that just for 16 days, I mean, you can recover from that. That's not going to be the end of the world. So I think from a business side, obviously thinking economics, regardless of how he performs in spring training, you keep him at AAA in Scranton, closer to you, Tommy, for 16 days. Maybe that gives you a chance to get a few more games with him. But I know a lot of people are thinking, well, if he wins outright, and you don't play him for the first 16 days, well, who plays at second base? The answer might have been signed just this week, as the Yankees announced that they got utility infielder Danny Espinosa. For those of you not familiar with Danny Espinosa, last season he was cut by the Angels, then signed by the Mariners and cut by them, and then he was signed by the Rays and cut by them. With the Angels, he had a 162 average in 77 games. With the Mariners, he had a 188 average in 8 games. And with the Rays, he batted 273 in just 8 games. So clearly the Yankees looking for some infield depth here, possibly planning to sit Torres for the first 16 games. What is your guys' first reaction to this Espinosa signing, and yay or nay? Let's start with you, Joe.
I'm sorry, did you call out me, Rob?
Yep, trying to shake it up a little bit here.
Yeah, I thought you said Tom for a second. Okay, so with Danny Espinosa, my first reaction is that he's a good defensive second baseman. I saw him actually a few years in Syracuse when I was up there playing for the Nationals affiliate, AAA, of course. So he's a good defensive player. He's not gonna rake. He's not gonna hit for very much. To me, it's more of like a depth signing for the minors than like any kind of real solution. So to me, it's not a bad signing. You create a little depth, a little competition, and see who wins out the job.
Tommy?
Yeah, I actually really liked the signing because I think that there's some talent in Espinosa, and if for some reason the Yankees find something with him that they can catch lightning in a bottle, then that would be great for them this year, especially with all the question marks at second and third. Now, if he doesn't, if the rookies end up outperforming him, then you have a veteran presence at AAA to come up in case something goes wrong or they need him or for whatever reason. But I remember when he was with the Nationals, there was a lot of hype around him, and right after the Yankees lost Cano, he was a name that surfaced all the time as a possible trade target for the Yankees. Because the talent was there. So if they can find a way to harness that, he kind of reminds me of when they acquired Dustin Ackley. I feel like they're both high talent players that never lived up to the potential, and they actually did get Ackley hitting for a while. He just couldn't stay healthy. So maybe they find a little magic with him and he becomes a solid piece for the entire season. So I think it's absolutely worth a flyer, and now you have a veteran presence that you could plug in there in case something goes wrong.
So, as you all know by now, I am a defensive guy first. And Danny Espinosa can absolutely pick it. One of the best defensive players in the game right now in all of baseball. And, it's one of those things where the bat's not there. He will hit for power for some reason. I believe he hit upwards of 20 home runs with the Nationals a couple of years ago. And it's just one of those competition signings, and you gotta love competition. Bring the more, the merrier, and to watch these guys compete during spring training. And worst case scenario, you ship him to Scranton. Best case scenario, he's hitting 20 jacks in Yankee Stadium and playing stellar defense for manager Aaron Boone. So that's kind of where I stand.
I'm kind of with you on that, Paul. He's definitely a hold the fort kind of guy. I don't think he's someone you want to run out there every single day for 162 games. But specifically to this instance with Torres and potentially needing to hold him out for 16 days, again, not 16 games, 16 days, he's someone who is more than capable to fill in. And again, there's so much depth in this system. I don't think that you need to go out and make a big signing. I think a signing like this is absolutely perfect. Between Tyler Wade and Toe, and now you've got Espinosa, second base will be fine. Third base will be fine with Andujar. I don't think there's any panic. There's all this talk, the Yankees need to go get another infielder. I think this is the guy. I think he's more than capable. I think he's got the talent. I think he's shown that over the years, and I think he's going to get the job done. So I'm a huge fan of this signing. I think it works out really well, and he's someone that you can store at AAA if you need to. And he's a character guy. He can hit for power. Who knows how that'll translate to Yankee Stadium? But big fan of this signing. And what can you say? Brian Cashman does it again. And guys, while we're talking about the big league club, they did make another announcement this week. PJ Pilater, I was practicing that name. I want to make sure I got it right, will join Marcus Thames as the hitting coach for the Yankees this season. Anyone close to the Rail Riders knows that Pilater was the hitting coach in Scranton this past season. He was a former Yankees draft pick in 2004. And he's familiar with a lot of these young guys who are coming up, particularly, I think, Clint Frazier. I think he's got good familiarity with Clint Frazier. And if Frazier's going to be kind of on that shuttle this season between AAA and the Yankees, he's someone that has a lot of familiarity with Pilater, among other guys. So were you guys at all shocked to hear this, considering that Marcus Thames was already the hitting coach? And do you think this is another move by the Yankees to just kind of honor their organizational guys, give them a little nod and bring them up and help with these younger guys and the transition to the major leagues? Paul, I'll start with you this time.
So I am shocked, and I am shocked that it took him this long to get there. For Brian Cashman and company to reward him. He's been one of the best hitting coaches, the best hitting coach for the Yankees, head over heels, better than pretty much anybody else, and they have pretty darn good hitting coaches. You have Tom Slater now, who went to the Mets as an assistant hitting coach for former, farm director Pat Rosler, who's the hitting coach over there now. You have Hawk. Hawk's another guy that I think is going to be rewarded in the very near future. So very nice to see PJ finally up in New York. I think the biggest guy that he's going to impact is going to be Greg Bird, and look forward to seeing some success between Marcus and PJ, and hopefully I think they're going to be, this combo is going to be there for quite a bit. Come hell or high water, I think they're going to kind of ride or die with these guys, and I think they're going to get the job done.
What do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, so PJ is an excellent fit there, and mostly because of the relationship that he has built with the guys that are in New York now or who will be coming up to New York. He was highly respected in the Rail Riders clubhouse. The players loved him, and the strength that he brings to New York right now is his ability to communicate with the players. That's one thing that he was able to do well was, and you mentioned it, he did have a very good relationship with Clint Frazier. They were always talking about what he can do better, but he had a very good way of conveying what he wanted the players to do and breaking down what he saw from them and how they could work to adjust. So I think that was very important for the Yankees this year. I didn't know if they were going to go with an assistant hitting coach this year because they've been playing around with it for the last couple of years, whether they liked the idea, didn't like the idea. But and when I know they really like Tim's as the actual hitting coach, but it's a really good move by them, and I think that their focus this year is going to be on communication with the players so that they can continue to develop them in a positive way. So PJ is going to fit on that staff perfectly, and he's going to be able to bring a dynamic of familiarity that staff right now doesn't have. So I think it was a really underrated and important move by the Yankees. So that'll be really good to see.
Anything to add to that, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at Scranton's offensive numbers last year, the team led the International League in runs, batting average, home runs batted in. So PJ definitely earned this promotion, and he'll be a nice addition to the coaching staff.
And like I said earlier, I do think this is all part of that transition with the youth movement and with these guys getting called up and with these great prospects. So definitely a welcomed addition to the Major League staff and someone that the players know well and respect. And what can you say? The Yankee way continues. We are going to toss it right now, though, to an interview with Yankee prospect Kanan Smith. I had the chance to talk with Kanan earlier this week, along with our reporter Ricky Keeler. Ricky and myself, had the opportunity to cover an array of topics with Kanan during this interview, from his decision not to go to college and to sign with the Yankees, his different sports teams that he cheered for growing up, and just a great kid, I have to say. Really enjoyed talking with him. He was really patient, and it was a great interview. So we hope you enjoy this.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Rob Terranova here, joined with one of Pinstriped Prospects' newest, finest writers, Ricky Keeler, and we have the privilege of also being joined by Kanan Smith. What's going on, Kanan?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. For those of you who don't know, Kanan was a 4th-round selection, 122nd overall, of the New York Yankees in last year's entry-level player draft out of Rockwall Heath High School in Texas. Entering the draft, he was named the 58th best prospect outfielder by Baseball America and the 24th best player in Texas by Perfect Game. He's coming off an impressive professional rookie campaign with the Gulf Coast League Yankees East squad, and his early success has earned him the number 36 best prospect spot in the Yankees organization entering the 2018 season on the Pinstriped Prospects Top 75 Prospects list. You can read Kanan's full player profile on pinstripeprospects.com right now. But before we get started, Kanan, let me just start by saying welcome. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to talk to us, and congratulations on everything you've accomplished to this point.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
Okay, and the first question for you is, Rob mentioned that you were drafted in the 4th round last year. Take us through your draft day experience. What was that like for you?
It was awesome. I was I was on vacation with my mom and my little brother. Decided to take a trip to go celebrate the draft. Hopefully, I was going to get drafted, and I was about to board, and I got a call from my air scout. He was like, "Hey, you want to be a Yankee?" And it was great news. I was very excited. I'm glad it was over with, and I'm glad I'm a Yankee.
Now, you had committed to Arkansas before signing with the Yankees. How tough a decision was that for you?
It was pretty tough because as a sophomore, I committed to go to University of Arkansas, and I had a lot of good friends going, and I knew the teams were going to be really good, and Coach Van Horn I really liked. But it was really kind of a no-brainer once the Yankees picked me up. If any other team would have picked me up, then probably I would have made a different decision about either pro route or college route, but I'm glad I made this decision.
We did get a question on Twitter from Blaine Quarles. He asked, as a lifelong Yankees and Arkansas Razorback fan, what made you choose the Razorbacks as your college, and what did Arkansas sell you on as a program?
The reason why I committed to Arkansas was I knew a lot of my guys on my team in the area was going to Arkansas from Texas, so I really enjoyed that. The facilities was great, and the winning tradition of the Arkansas Razorback has, but the Yankees just can't turn them down.
I'm sure everyone listening and watching definitely understands that. But so moving on here, there was an article right after the draft that made a comparison to Barry Bonds. It said that you were pitched around at a Barry Bonds level. And the numbers kind of back that up. Your senior season, you had a stretch of 24 games where you walked 32 times, and you ended up finishing the year with 57 walks. So my question is, did you see that article, and what does having a comparison like that in high school mean to you?
I saw the article. My mom and my coaches were sending it to me. It was crazy they compared me to Barry Bonds about the walking, but it was awesome. It was awesome for sure. It kind of sucked though in high school when it hit the ball, showed the scouts what I was made of, but I walked all the time, so hey, it was cool though. Cool experience. Go down the record books and walking.
And What did it ever get frustrating? You're going up there, like you just said, you want to hit, you want to show the scouts what you're made of, and these guys just keep putting you on. Were you frustrated at times?
Oh, all the time. And I had a lot of meetings with my coach saying, hey, you need to relax. They know what you can do. Because I wanted to show people what I was capable of. And it was my senior season, of course, and I wanted to hit and do well. But just gave them, I just took what the team needs and control what I can control.
Now, you went to high school at Rockwell Heath High School. Another major leaguer that went there was Phillies pitcher Jake Thompson. Have you ever heard from him? And if you have, what advice did he give you?
He just told me about he enjoys the pro ball route. He knows it's a grind for sure. I looked up to Jake Thompson. I was in 7th grade when he graduated, and I remember watching him pitching and hitting and just saying, man, this dude's amazing. But he just told me keep level-headed, and the game of baseball is hard. You're going to fail sometimes.
All right, well, you just finished your first pro season. As we mentioned, you were at the GCL Yankees East. You finished the year with a slash line of 289, 430, 422. I had to check that a few times. That's really good. What do you attribute that success to?
Just being comfortable at the plate and telling myself it's just a game and see ball, hit ball. Try not to do too much. Go in there, be confident, believe in yourself, and don't take it for granted.
Your manager at GCL Yankee squad was Luis Sojo. How would you describe him as a manager?
Luis Sojo was great. By far, one of my favorite persons to play for. He was so cool. I enjoyed him a lot. He taught me a lot. He was unbelievable. Words can't explain. He helped me a lot for sure.
We get another fan question for you, Kanan. This fan asks, on August 11th against the Tigers East, you were on the road. You went 4 for 5 with 5 RBIs, a walk, and a run scored. He wants to know, do you remember that game, and what did you eat that day?
Oh, probably my favorite game in rookie ball so far. What I ate that day, well, we got to the ballpark early, and I love eggs. So I had 3 eggs, a couple of slices of bacon, and then on the way there, I think I grabbed some Chipotle before the game. That's my go-to.
Have you ever had a game like that?
Probably in high school. Pro ball, I think that was my first and only 4-hit ball game.
And when you're at the plate, especially later on in the game, when you're at the plate and you're locked in like that, does it just look like a beach ball coming in at you?
Sometimes. It depends who's pitching. I try to, yeah. I hope it looks like a beach ball.
Now, you won't turn 19 until April 30th. You're 18 now. This past season, you were a little bit over 2 years younger than your competition. Is that something that you notice when you take the field? And is this a situation where you can relish in that opportunity?
Me being young is good, for sure. But no, I just go out there and play. I don't really look at the ages. I don't really worry about how old this guy is, how old that guy is, and I just go out there and just play. Try to win.
How quick was that adjustment into professional ball?
First day I came out in Tampa and I faced really the live pitching. I was like, man, this is fast. But it took me about a couple weeks, and then I just told myself see ball, hit ball, and ever since then I've been fine. I'm used to it now.
That's a great mantra. See ball, hit ball. I like it.
See ball, hit ball.
All right, so heading into the season, you'll probably break camp and head to Pulaski. What are you looking forward to most about the next challenge in your career, and what are your goals for 2018?
I'm looking forward to a challenge. I'm always looking forward to a challenge. My goals for 2018 is just contribute to the team, be healthy all season. Hopefully break in Charleston, hopefully, but we'll see. If not, then it's fine. Just go out there, stay consistent, and win a championship again.
Me and Ricky are going to be Staten Island guys this upcoming season, so we hope we get the chance to see you there for at least a game or two.
Oh yeah, for sure, Staten. Yeah, for sure.
Back in high school, you got a chance to play some first base and some catcher. Are those positions that you're comfortable at, and how is that transition this year to the outfield?
Ever since I was younger, I've always been a versatile guy. I've always played outfield, always played first, third, catcher. I was everywhere. It wasn't really hard to transition because in high school, I was just primarily outfielder. But I'm comfortable. I'm very comfortable in the outfield.
All right, so we know about your power, your speed. You've got a plus arm. But what would you say is the best part about your game?
Probably being a very consistent hitter. I don't go down easy when I'm at the plate. I see pitches. I think I walk a lot, so I'm not just a three pitch out guy for sure. I think I'm a hard out.
All right, and what would you say needs the most work?
Probably the little things, because sometimes I overlook them, like base running or just angles I do, just the little things. Just I have to develop all my game.
In 2016, you got a chance to play for the Texas Scout Team Yankees. What was that experience like, and how did it help prepare you for going into professional baseball?
It helped me a lot, for sure. That's the first time I met my air scout, Mike. And it was good because everybody in Texas got together and we played against each other, and it was the best of the best. So it helped me battle and compete.
So you're clearly a really talented athlete, and obviously it's well known that you could have played football at a very high collegiate level. So what made you choose baseball over football?
I knew that baseball was was going to be my career in the future, and I love football, but I didn't want to do it for the rest of my life. So or make a career out of it, as I should say. But I love my high school baseball coach, and I'm glad that I finally just stuck it out with him my whole senior year.
Sweet. Have you kept in touch with him?
Oh, every day. Every day. We talk every day. Everyone goes back and see him. Like, I saw Jake Thompson the other day just before I came out to captain's camp. All the big leaguers come back.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the season, you saw that you were placed on the 60-day disabled list. Was there an injury that you had, and how are you feeling right now during the offseason?
I sprained my wrist in the game 1 of the championship series against the Nationals, sliding in second. I was out all instructs, but I'm 100% now.
How was that postseason experience for you, albeit it was a very limited one? Does the atmosphere feel different in that kind of a game compared to your regular season?
For sure, because sometimes you can get away with pitches, you get away with outs, but when you're in the championship series, every pitch matters, and gotta always be on your toes.
All right, Kanan, we're going to change gears a little bit. This is the part in the interview where the questions get a little bit more personal. It gives everyone watching, listening, a chance to get to know you a little better. But if we throw something your way that you're not comfortable answering, just say pass and we'll go on.
All right, sounds good.
Cool? All right, so you were born in Dallas.
Dallas.
Who were your favorite sports teams growing up?
Rangers, Stars, and the Cowboys. That's my teams.
You're a Dallas guy. Those are good answers right there.
Big hockey fan?
Okay.
Sorry, big hockey fan?
Now I am.
Cool. All right.
Who is your favorite athlete as a kid, and who's your favorite athlete now?
As a kid, I'll probably say, as a kid, probably LeBron James, and now probably LeBron James. He's unbelievable. He's fun to watch. I enjoy watching him a lot. Yeah. Now, actually, Ezekiel Elliott now. Feed Zeke.
That's great. Did you ever get a chance to meet either one of those guys?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. Good answer. Not yet.
Not yet.
All right. So, as you were developing as a baseball player, Was there someone on the professional level that you try to mold your game after?
I would say a little bit of Kyle Schwarber.
Okay.
For sure. Especially going through high school, and people would ask me, "Hey, who do you model your game out of?" I say probably Kyle Schwarber, just being a bigger guy who can run a little bit, hit for power. But yeah, I'll say him, being a left-handed hitter.
So would you say he was also your favorite hitter to watch?
No, David Ortiz, by far. Sorry, Yankees.
I was about to say that didn't go probably too well if you ever told anybody that.
Yeah.
Now, what has been the most memorable advice you have received from any coach while you're playing baseball? Is there one thing that stuck with you?
Just embrace the moment. Not a lot of kids are doing this right now, so enjoy the experience.
What's your personal greatest sports accomplishment to this point?
Probably my 17U summer team with the Dallas Tigers. We came as the underdogs, and we won the national championship, and then again won it the next year. Probably winning the national championship as me playing summer ball with those guys.
If you weren't in professional baseball, what would be your other career choice?
I would have studied kinesiology and probably become a chiropractor.
Wow. Kind of very different than baseball. That's great.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that interview with Kanan Smith. Our apologies for the technical issues. We are getting that straightened out as we go here, but every week we are getting better, and we thank you for your support. So don't forget to continue to check our podcast every week. So again, our thanks to Kanan Smith, great young man, and we look forward to seeing him flourish throughout the Yankees organization as we go forward here. But that is going to do it for us in this week for the 40th edition of the Pinstriped Prospects Podcast, brought to you by Velocity 5 Sports Restaurant and Bar in Sterling, Virginia. Don't forget, if you have anything you would like to hear discussed on this podcast, feel free to reach out to us at any time. You can contact our managing partner and executive producer of this podcast, Robert Pimsner. He can be reached at rob@pinstripeprospects.com, or myself, this was a little bit longer, rterranova at pinstripeprospects.com. Don't forget, we are always here for you. And don't forget to also follow us all over social media. You can find Pinstripe Prospects on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please, really trying to emphasize the please here, subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and the Google Play Store. And if you feel inclined to do so, and I'm going to add in another please, give us that ever important 5-star rating that is important to keeping us on there and being more easily accessible to you, the viewer. Also, if you check out our website right now, www.pinstripeprospects.com, our top 75 prospects list just pretty much came to a conclusion. So don't forget to check out the top 5 and everyone else from 1 to 75. And that is on there right now, pinstripeprospects.com, along with all other great Yankee Farm content. So, for Joseph Dixon, Tommy Romanelli, Paul Pagnato III, and our man behind the camera, Mr. Robert Pimsner, I am Rob Terranova. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Pinstripe Prospects Podcast, and we look forward to checking in with you again next week. Until then, take care and go Yankees.